welcome to A Thread of Innovation, a podcast brought to you by Polytex and 103 FM. I'm Shimrit Marom, VP of Marketing at Polytex. In each episode, I sit down with people who are changing the world in textile logistics through technology, sustainability, and new ways of thinking. Today, I'm excited to welcome Ivri Verbin. Ivri is a global expert in corporate responsibility and ESG, the CEO of Good Vision, and a partner at the Global Sustainability Committee at Grant Thornton, and author of a new book, Corporate Responsibility 2.0. Ivri, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the basics. What is corporate responsibility?
Okay, first of all, the name corporate responsibility has changed through the years. It's a managerial approach that takes into consideration the expectation of stakeholders from the corporate. For example, stakeholders can include clients, employees, suppliers, regulation, the environment, the community. And it's like a holistic approach that asks the corporation to pay attention to the expectation of these stakeholders. But it's a management that is 360 degrees. Most of the pillars, and it includes more than 200 KPIs, are beyond compliance. Meaning that as a company, you don't look only on the regulation and the laws. But
like a voluntary.
Yeah, but in the voluntary spectrum, you look for things you can promote that are not demanded by the law.
And why is it just more than a nice to have discipline?
It has a business dividends. In those places that execute it in a real authentic way, you can show dividends such as better reputation, better risk management, attracting capital. Today, more and more investors are looking for a good performance of ESG and sustainability because they understand that the world is and the ecosystem is moving to a low carbon economy. They want to put their money with
the long-term sustainability.
With companies that will enjoy this and they can benefit from the low carbon economy.
Can you share an example of an organization that stepped into this, let's say, processes and actually saw some results around it?
Yes, of course. By the way, many people know the book Built to Last. It's Collins wrote a book about the best 100 companies in the world that last for more than 100 years. And when you reverse engineering them and you dive into the stories, you see that most of them have very strong values in their management, that they don't change and rotate because of new trends. One of my clients is the Assuta group of hospitals and medical centers. A few years ago, they took the strategic decision to move into sustainability, and the tone starts from the top, from the chairman to the nurses and the physicians, and they implement through all pillars. Environmental sustainability, we speak about workplace, what kind of conditions we give to our employees, a responsible supply chain, how we choose and how we work with our suppliers, and even in marketing, that we use a responsible marketing approach, ethical codes and ethical programs. It's really hundreds of KPI. You don't need necessarily to implement all of them, but you need to know where you are. What's your baseline? What's your goals and where you want to go, and through the years to implement.
From your experience, what is like the biggest, let's say, mental or cultural challenge managers face when they start to adopt this discipline?
To understand it's an investment and not an expense.
Because we're all looking at the bottom line. So
yeah, but it's investment for the medium and the long term because it's really create value to your company. As we say before, as we indicated, reputation costs money. Reputation is the non-tangible asset of the brand or of the company. And once you evaluate whether you are doing an exit or you're doing attract investors, the reputation build your value. It helps you to do a better risk management. So managers really need to understand it's an investment. The next challenge is to understand that you want to implement it on a systematical way and not a project level. This, I think, it's a glass ceiling. Yeah. It's a real glass ceiling because many projects are being executed by companies in a very good way, but sometimes they have obstacles to move to the next level, to the strategic level, and really to put it into the product and into the service and into the supply chain. And I think this is the future.
So since then and today, how has the conversation around ESG and sustainability changed? What sort of was the evolution?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is that at the time it was more romantic, I would say, more inside out, how the company can help the environment or how the company can help the society. And today it's more outside in also. We call it double materiality, from single materiality to find where is your impact, to see also how the environment and the society impact you. Once you understand it, it's create a more holistic approach, touching more closely your business culture and how you put and execute it inside your business, in the production, in the service department, in the human resources.
With the subcontractors as well.
Don't contribute to charities that help people with disability, but hire people with disability. It's more sustainable. Don't contribute to Greenpeace, but have sustainable processes inside your company, inside your assembly line or production line. So it's more sustainable and more holistic. And of course, more and more data is involved. I remember 20 years ago, all the companies, it was sufficient for them to speak in slogans. We'll save the world, we'll save the children, etc., etc.
Is that what you call greenwashing? Or?
Yeah, greenwashing, when you put to your brand esoteric contribution that is not at the same
level of
weight
impact.
Or, the same impact of the whole organization. At the time, companies were afraid to put goals, but this is the only way to move forward.
So I'm interested to know, how does it show, like in the day-to-day operations, the textile management, the logistic management?
Yeah. I think that, first of all, the first things that companies need to do is to make a gap analysis and measure where is the impact. And if you speak about companies such as hospitals and hotels that they have many, many employees and they need to have uniforms, usually in this scenario, the laundry and the textile itself has a strong and valuable impact. Once you identified it as an impact, you need to start to measure it, what exactly is the impact, and to have a work plan how to reduce it. Usually when you speak about textile, you speak about water, inventory, energy for transportation or all the operation, because most of the hospitals and the hotels, they don't have the inside laundry. They take it outside, and then it creates a whole operation. And then you need to see what are the solutions? And I think companies like Polytex bringing the future to this organization, and by injecting technology, they reduce the water, they reduce the energy.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, at Polytex, our customers mentioned that once they implement Polytex into their daily textile operation, they would save between 30 to 50% of their initial inventory. So it's less production of textiles, less laundry, less electricity, less detergent. Everything is more efficient. If you take an organization using 100,000 textile sets, and let's be conservative, they would save 20%, not 30%. So they would take off their inventory 20,000 sets of uniform. That is the equivalent of taking off the road 40 cars for a year. That's crazy. Filling up 28 Olympic pools, which is like mind-blowing.
You simply position yourself as part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Exactly.
This is the point.
It's a good place to... Looking forward, what do you see is the connection between ESG and logistics, let's say 10 years from now?
First of all, we'll probably have robots. They don't need... Maybe less uniform will be engaged. But seriously, I think that the more you can create lean management that reduce the amount of resources and you don't really need them, you reduce your carbon footprint, and you reduce the time and the human resources that you don't need. Employees will not understand how they were able to do it without it.
If I were a hospital director or a factory manager, what would be the one thing you would tell me to do tomorrow morning?
I think it's all come to the same place. Understand where is your impact and put goals to reduce it. Today, companies must measure footprint of their suppliers. If you don't do it in an automatic technological way, you have no way to measure the carbon footprint of your supply chain.
Understood.
The regulation today in Europe, and I think that in Israel it will be the same, companies will need to measure the scope, what we call the scope 3, the carbon emission of your suppliers and your outsource activities, and the only way to do it is through tech.
So this brings me to the next topic, talking about your book, Corporate Responsibility in the Digital Age. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
The idea behind the book, there are the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. No hunger, gender equality.
Life underwater.
Exactly. And I put 17 chapters in the book, each one to be in line with one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But in the end of the day, it's simply a roadmap for companies to implement sustainability in a very practical way. How to produce a green event, how to create sustainable transportation system, how to have a sustainable textile system, etc.
So the corporate responsibility in the digital age can be found also in a digital version?
Yeah, it's in Routledge. It's a British famous publishing house, but also in Amazon you can find it.
Great. So we covered a lot today, from the big ideas behind corporate responsibility to the practical side of textile logistics. The message is clear. Sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's also good for business. Ivri, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.